Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are talking about boosting your online store conversions. My name is Devin. I am joined by my friend and colleague, Jocelyn, and let's jump into it. Thank you all for joining us here today. As I mentioned before, I'm joined by Jocelyn Hendrickson. She is our senior product manager for our e-commerce product with Bluehost. She's very involved with all the development and all the projects that go on with helping Bluehost bring an incredible e-commerce product to the marketplace, to everyone that's tuning in today. My name is Devin Sears. I'm the senior field marketing manager, and I'll be your co-host today. So before we get too far into everything we want to talk about today, let's get over a few housekeeping items. First of all, if you can hear us, tell us where you're tuning in from. I love hearing where everyone is dialing in from, and also, if you have any specific questions that you'd like us to try to answer as we go through the webinar today, go ahead and drop that in the chat as well. We obviously have a plan, but we want to make sure that this is helpful for you, so we'll do our best to answer your questions as we go along. Drop questions in the Q&A box if you can. You can drop chats and other items in the chat box, but we will try our best to answer questions that show up in the question part first. If you have any issues, sometimes people have an issue with audio, make sure that it's unmuted. Make sure that the volume is on. If you're still having any issues, then feel free to refresh the page or try to rejoin the webinar. That resolves 90% of the issues that you'll experience. Okay, so moving on. Today, we're talking about boosting our conversions with our online stores. We're going to go into fairly high level, talking about a lot of the theory and a couple of practice things that we can have everyone apply to increase their conversions when they're building their online stores. So by way of introduction, we'll be covering how to boost our online conversions. Then we'll be going into understanding our target audience, optimizing our e-commerce websites. We're going to touch on gift cards and wish lists, and we'll also be getting into upsells and leveraging WordPress specifically for marketing. So let's jump into it. Chapter 1, Introduction. As we go through today's webinar, we're going to be talking about a handful of different things, a lot of different cross-sectional approaches to how we can improve our marketing and therefore our conversions for our e-commerce websites. And a lot of the different topics and subjects that we're going to be talking about are going to come back to this slide. This is kind of the main purpose of all the marketing you're doing for your e-commerce website. So just going down these quickly, obviously, as you improve your marketing for your e-commerce website, you're going to improve and increase your website traffic. Increased website traffic leads to increased brand visibility as well as boosted sales. Also, marketing and kind of refining your e-commerce website can lead to an improved customer engagement or improved customer experience. Both of those are huge because the more positive engagements a customer has with your brand, the more likely they are to convert to a paying customer, and even more than that, a brand advocate. And that's really a big part of helping to build a successful brand when you're creating your e-commerce store. Also, we want to talk a little bit about competitive advantage. In today's very crowded e-commerce landscape, marketing can help set you apart from the competition, and it can establish you as a brand leader. It can really help you carve out a niche that you can operate in. So there's a big competitive advantage in marketing your e-commerce website. It also can give you better customer insights. We'll talk a little bit today about how to create a customer persona and what advantage that can give you. And also using Wishlist and a few of the other tools that we're going to be talking about today that can give you better customer insights, which will give you more informed direction when you're making changes to your website, when you're trying to improve your brand. So that's another big thing. Obviously, marketing your e-commerce website will improve customer acquisition, and theoretically, if you have a great product, which I assume that all of you do, it will improve your customer loyalty as well and higher conversion rates. So higher conversion rates is a little bit different than boosted sales. A conversion rate is obviously you look at how many people land on your site, and then you divide that by how many people. I might have the math a little bit backwards on that, but basically you take a look at how many people land on your website, and of those people, how many people convert into paying customers. Boosted sales is talking a little bit more about how to increase the dollar amount of your average order. So average dollar spent per purchase. So we're all here because Bluehost is a big fan of WordPress. So we will always want to make sure that we're incorporating WordPress whenever we're talking about how to improve this. So the role of WordPress as we go through today's webinar, it's obviously a content creation and management tool. So you can create blog posts, you can create landing pages, you can create e-commerce pages, leveraging plugins like WooCommerce and things like that. Using WordPress also makes it a lot easier to improve the SEO than if you were to use a different type of builder. It also has a handful of e-commerce plugins that can help you. I mentioned WooCommerce is a big one, and we'll get into a few others as we get a little bit further into this. And also, WordPress makes it a lot easier to look at your analytics and your tracking. And we'll touch base on different plugins you can utilize to use that as well.
Thanks, Evan. That was a great introduction. So one of the first things that you want to do when you're building out your marketing strategy is understanding your target audience. If you don't know who you're trying to reach, then how can you possibly connect with them? So with that, it's not just enough for you to throw out some messaging or put some ads out there and hope that it's going to work out for you. By understanding your target audience, you can develop a better marketing strategy. You can improve your product development. You can have better customer relationships, and naturally will increase your sales and revenue. Simply put, understanding your target audience is essential if you want your marketing efforts to be successful. By knowing them, you can create targeted campaigns, targeted messaging, and strategies that resonate with your customers, which means you'll be more likely to capture their attention. So finding your target audience it can be really as complex or as easy as you want, but some of the best ways to identify and find your target audience is, number one, conducting research. So you can use surveys, analytics tools, social media, and other resources to gather data. You can, there's a bunch of free survey tools out there, user research tools. Ask them questions, see how they're naturally responding to you. By listening to them and reading how they respond, you can figure out how they like to be spoken with. Are they more relaxed? Are they more formal? And you can put that towards your messaging. The next part is understanding the demographics of who your target audience is. So analyze the data from your research to identify what the common traits are amongst your audience. So those things are going to be like the age, their gender, income, education, occupation. It's really difficult if you have a target audience and you say, we cater to everybody, because you don't cater to everybody, right? You could, but that's a very, very broad spectrum, and it makes it really difficult for your marketing strategies to succeed. And so really identifying the commonalities and kind of giving yourself a range. So maybe your target audience is females that are 25 to 35, or males that are 45 to 65, which is a pretty large gap. You typically want to keep it plus or minus 10 years. Or you could have both. You can say we cater to females that are age 25 to 35, and we cater to males that are 35 to 45. But that means that you need to have two different user personas for your target audience, which we'll talk about next. One of the most, in my opinion, important parts of finding your target audience is also determining the psychographics. So your psychographics refers to their motivations, what drives them, what their interests are, what makes them, the things that they love, and what pushes your customers. So by understanding these things and determining those psychographics, identifying the demographics, and using that research, you're going to then go ahead and create buyer personas of your ideal customers. So again, going back to that, we cater to women who are 25 to 35 is going to be part of that. And we'll talk about some other stuff here on the next couple of slides that goes a little bit deeper into buyer personas. But what you'll do is really you have this user persona who's a fake customer. It's not a real customer. It's just a customer. And you give that customer a name, you give it a face, you have a narrative about that customer. When you do the research, you want to find out from your users what their pain points are, what their miseries are, right? And your goal is to be that bridge that takes those miseries, and your product bridges that gap and turns it into something that delights them and helps them in their everyday life. So your messaging is targeted around why your product or service helps them achieve kind of that happy state, that better state that eases those frustrations or pain points that they're having. You'll also use those personas to inform marketing. It's going to tailor your campaigns and know how to speak to those audiences. Again, is it more formal? Is it more relaxed? Those types of things. And then monitor and adjust. So see how your marketing efforts are working towards your target audience. Are you being too formal? Are you being too relaxed? Do we need to tighten that up or loosen that up? Are you speaking more about the benefits versus the features, or features versus benefits? If you think about humans, we are all logical and we're all emotional, and we're all logical and emotional every single day back and forth. And your message may have come across to a user when they are in a more emotional state, but your messaging was very analytical and very straightforward with maybe features, and the benefits is what would have converted that customer. So you can kind of adjust those and see kind of that sweet spot of how your user persona is actually identifying with your brand. So one thing that we found that we really liked as a good way to write out your persona. This is from Adobe, but again, you give them a name. So her name could be Jane, his name could be Steve, and it helps the marketing team discuss their customers. So when you're planning out your products or you're planning out your messaging, you have a real person to associate them with. Knowing what their job is, it helps you get inside their head as they tackle day to day. Is your product going to help them in their work, or can it help them in their work? Their age, again, it helps you understand generation-specific characteristics. And some of that could even be where that generation prefers to be online. If it's a younger age demographic, are more of them on TikTok or Snapchat, or where are they, Instagram or Facebook? You can understand those things. Knowing their interests and what they do in their spare time also can shape the content that they're likely to engage with. If there's somebody who doesn't like sports, but you're using a lot of sports metaphors, but that's not your target customer, that's not going to resonate with your audience. Again, media usage goes back to the media platforms and channels that they'll use, because where they are is where you'll reach them. And if you're targeting LinkedIn for girls, that are like 15 to 24, like they may or may not be there. You may not reach them as well. Their finances also helps you identify what prices that you should sell at, or promotions that might make sense. If it's a buy one, get one, or a free shipping, and what their finances do is just really inform you on important sales and how that's going to help you with your conversions and increasing your sales. Brand affinities. If they like certain brands, then it can give you hints as to how well they're responding to. And one thing that wasn't on here, but you should look at your competitors, see how they're messaging. If they're performing really well, see how they're speaking, and you can kind of tailor your marketing messaging to those ways that are working for those. If there's a competitor that your customers are not really associating with, like, don't be so much like them. Find a way to make it better so that they'll want to associate with you. While we don't have a template for you here, the reason why is there's so many different templates out there, and not every template is going to work for every use case. But if you just search user persona templates, there are hundreds of them. There's a lot that are on Adobe. Canva has some. You can just go in and you search what those are, find one that has a color and style that you like, and go from there. Some of them may even have more fields or options to fill out than what we've gone into here. And some of the options may not make sense for your brand. You can customize it and tailor it. What we've gone over is more best practices and ways to get you started on building out that user persona.
Yeah, and one other thing I wanted to just briefly add to that is I feel like a lot of people, when they're building their online e-commerce store, even if they get their first sale, they don't have any information. Oftentimes they're saying like, "Hey, I'm so excited. I got my first sale, but I have no idea." Take the example of someone that's selling sporting goods or something like that. Someone bought a baseball mitt. Was that a coach that's getting some equipment for their team? Is that a parent that's getting something for their child? Is that someone that saved up all their allowance so they could finally buy their first baseball mitt? And if you have like an in-person brick and mortar store, then obviously it's a lot easier to just identify that individual that's walking into your store. But on an e-commerce store, you don't have that face-to-face interaction. So building out that buyer persona, understanding your target audience, I think that really helps you develop who you're selling to and allows you to really form how you're going to create the messaging and the marketing practices when you're trying to reach out and speak to your clients in the future. Okay, going on to chapter 3, optimizing your e-commerce website. So now that we kind of understand who our target audience is, we want to optimize our website in 2 ways. We want to optimize it one way for marketing, and also, I guess another layer perhaps is better way to say that, another layer for customers. So first, let's take a look at optimizing for marketing. So whenever we're trying to optimize our website for marketing, here's a few bullet points on what we want to be looking at. These are actionable items that we can all take and go back to our website and take a look and kind of use this as a checklist. Like, how many of these things do I currently have, and how many of these things do I need to touch base on? So using clear and compelling messaging. I think sometimes when we're trying to sell something, we get so excited about it that we just start going on and on about how excited we are about the product or about the service that we might be selling. And sometimes I think we over explain, or we allow ourselves to get in the way of ourselves. So using very clear and compelling messaging that's concise allows your users to understand what it is that they're getting involved with and make the decision quickly on whether or not they want to continue. Optimizing your product pages, making sure that they look neat, making sure that the information is structured the same. And to be honest, WooCommerce will help you do a lot of this. If you use that as an e-commerce plugin when you're building your website, it will help you with the structure and the optimization of your product pages. But oftentimes, to look at an example, we'll talk a little bit later about Old Navy. If you go there, you can sort by different shirts and pants, or there's different ways that you can go through and optimize your store so that your customer can find the product that they're looking for quickly and make the purchasing decision with all the information that they need. Leveraging social proof. This is a big one. A lot of people, if they're not familiar with your brand or if they're not familiar with your store, they'll look for something to let them know that they're making the right decision, that they're not being taken for a scam, because sadly there are a lot of scam sites out there that are asking for money, promising on the world and not delivering anything. So leveraging social proof is huge. And that can look like a few different things. One, that can look like just a star rating. We see that all the time. If you search for something on Google, it'll give you how many people have reviewed this location or this website and what the rating is for that location. And that's obviously huge. You want to trust by following along what other people have done. So if you can leverage that on your own site, then that's huge. If you don't have a bunch of ratings and things like that, then another way you can leverage social proof is get testimonials from your customers. If you have a happy customer, you can reach out to them and say, "Hey, so thrilled that you love our product. We would love to get just a few words on what you loved about your product or about your buying experience, about the service that we provided you, and make sure that you get consent, that you can use that on your website, and make sure that they're okay with you. Maybe even get like a small headshot or something on that. So when other people are scrolling through your website, they see that someone already has used your website, has used your product, and is happy with it. And that's essentially how you can leverage social proof. And we'll show a few examples in just a few minutes here. Creating a sense of urgency. This one is mildly controversial because some people are, they feel like it's a little bit deceptive, but there are plugins out there that you can utilize that will, no matter what time your customer lands on your website, they'll say, hey, there's 15 minutes left before this product is no longer on sale. Doesn't matter what time you land. And oftentimes, if you reload the page, the timer resets to 15. But there's other ways that you can do this. You know, if you hold a sale for 2 weeks, then people say, hey, this sale is only going on for 2 weeks. I need to act quickly because I don't want to miss out on that sale. So that sense of urgency helps motivate them to make a decision quicker on whether or not they're going to make a purchase that day. Leveraging landing pages can be huge, especially once you understand your target persona. You can understand some of their buying behaviors, and that allows you to start getting into more specified campaigns where you can target different aspects of that buying persona. You know, you can think of other places that your target audience might interact, and you can try to get ads there. And if they click, maybe it's a podcast that people listen to, and you can buy marketing in that podcast. And if they go to a specific page, then it's linked to that podcast. You know, it's cross-branded between that podcast and your website. And utilizing those landing pages can help you track information and can also help your marketing improve by giving you a better user experience. And we'll talk about user experience in just 1 second. Last bullet point here is features versus benefits. This is Jocelyn touched on this briefly. It's kind of going back and forth between the logical and emotional buying decision. Oftentimes we talk about the features, and oftentimes people are motivated by hearing about the benefits. You know, it's neat that your lawnmower has an automated wheel system so that when you turn it on, it moves for you. That's a great feature, but the benefit is that you're not nearly as tired after mowing your lawn. You have more energy for doing things that you want to spend your energy on. Save your energy for the things that matter, right? There's a great tagline for someone that's trying to sell a benefit instead of this lawnmower will help you push itself when you're mowing the lawn, right? That's a feature versus benefit right there. Okay, so moving on, this is optimizing for marketing, trying to improve your website so that when people do land there, they're more likely to convert into a sale. Optimizing for user experience is a little bit different. In my mind, the difference is the user experience is making sure that your website and your brand experience is something that users will enjoy. So a couple bullet points here on ways you can do that. You can simplify your navigation. Don't make it confusing. Some websites will have a drop-down menu that has a drop-down menu that has a drop-down menu. And hopefully none of you have experienced this, but I know I have, so I suspect some of you have as well. You're trying to go down that maze of menus and you move your mouse a little bit and then they all disappear suddenly. So simplify your navigation, make it very clean, very simple so that your users can find what they're looking for quickly and without confusion. Optimizing your site speed, that's a little bit more on the technical end, but I promise you, your users will appreciate you optimizing your site for speed. If your site takes too long to load, they are not going to stick around and wait to see what amazing site took 10 seconds to load. Oftentimes, you'll have 3 to 5 seconds to capture their attention, and that's honestly being generous. And then after that, they're going to leave your website and look for the same service or product somewhere else. Using personalization, there are some plugins that do this for you, but trying to find ways, and you can do this with the landing pages as well, that makes them feel like they're having a personalized experience. You know, I think Amazon is great at this. Often places where you're logging into your account, it'll say, hey, welcome back, Devin. Here's a couple things that we think you might enjoy today. They're not always right, but when they are, it's great. And I often end up spending a little bit more money than I was expecting because they curated those items for me, and it showed me that they knew who I was. Even though it's an algorithm on the back end, it's still a really nice experience. Mobile friendly, making sure that your website is using a dynamic theme, which most themes in WordPress are dynamic, so it will automatically do this for you. But when you're going through this checklist, just making sure that your website will load for people that are shopping on their phones as well as on a desktop. more and more people are tuning into the internet from their phones. I suspect a handful of you are tuning in from your phones, listening to this webinar. So make sure that your website is optimized and that not only can it load on the phone, but that it still looks neat, it still looks organized, it still has a clean, simple navigation. The other things that we've spoken about, all of that conveys when they experience it through a phone. You also want to make sure that you have high quality images and videos. This one might make a lot of sense to some people. It might be common sense, but I can't tell you how many websites I've been to where someone takes a picture with their old phone, or it's a picture that they've loved, and once they upload it and it's not optimized for the web, it looks stretched, or it looks like it's really pixelated, and it just doesn't look as high quality as it could. And I feel like users will have a higher level of trust if you have a high quality images and videos. Also, having clear call to action. This again probably seems fairly simple, but I think it's worth calling out. And we wanted to be able to give this list to you as a checklist that you can use when you're going through your own website. So having a clear call to action. Obviously, if you're trying to sell something, when your users land on your website, you want them to know immediately where they should click and what happens when they click, whether that's buy now or add to shopping cart or checkout, whatever it is. It should be clear, concise, and it should be readily available for them to use that. We talked a little bit about social proof on the previous slide, so we won't go back into that again, but essentially leveraging reviews, leveraging other people that are praising your product will help people feel like they're not the first ones to venture into this, and will help them feel more confident in their purchasing decision. And optimizing for speed, so important we put it in there twice. Okay. Now we're going to look at a couple examples just to prove this. We want to do this live, but this is kind of difficult to do live, so we decided to just take some screenshots of well-known brands and websites that many of you might have seen and just call out how they're doing what we just spoke about. So up first, we have Peloton. I suspect a lot of you have heard of Peloton, but just starting on the left here, they have clear and compelling messaging. You can get $400 off their machines. So you know exactly what you're getting, what you're purchasing, what your discount is. You have your clear call to action, which they very clearly say you can shop now. They also have a very simple navigation up at the top. It's very easy to tell where to go to get to the products you're looking for. And then they also have a sense of urgency. This one specifically was for a Mother's Day sale, which is obviously over now, but the mother of all deals, act fast. That's a sense of urgency. Only a few days left. That's a sense of urgency. And then also a bonus thing that I wanted to point out on this landing page is they have helplines readily available. On the bottom, it has an area where you can click to chat with a representative. And although I didn't list this as one of the items on improving your customer experience, this is something that Google takes a look at when they're evaluating their SEO rankings. So if you're looking for ways to improve your users' experience, having a helpline that they can find easily and that they can get in touch with someone if they get confused or if they're having an issue, you want them to be able to reach you easily. Social proof. This isn't exactly what we were talking about previously, but I came across this and I thought it was too fun not to share. This is on REI's homepage. If you're not familiar with REI, they're an outdoor brand. And if you use the hashtag REI member in your Instagram or your Twitter, or your social feed, they will feature your picture on their website, on their homepage. And that's first of all, I thought it was a great way to engage with their customers and with their community and to build that community. And second of all, if I have never been to REI before and I'm looking at this, I can see the products in use. I can see the happy customers. I can see that other people are using it and that other people want to talk about it. All of those are small things that step into using social proof as a selling mechanism. The other thing that I don't have an arrow to, I'm going to go back to this real quick. They have crowd favorites down here. So should have added an arrow, but crowd favorites, that's again social proof. That's talking about what items are most popular with everyone else. So if you're going through and you're looking at this, if you're feeling unsure or you don't have a lot of confidence that this is a great site, using things like this reassures the shopper that this is a reputable website. Other people have made the same purchase decision that you have, and they're very pleased with it. All of those things go a long way when helping someone make that decision to purchase. And then I think this is the last example for this particular area, but Ulta, they sell health and beauty products. And I think they did a great job of utilizing a lot of the different things that we were speaking about. First of all, they have clear and compelling messaging. As I mentioned, they have a sense of urgency. Today's beauty steals. So even though it's a small subconscious sense of urgency, it's still something in the back of your head where it's like, okay, this is only on for today. I need to take a closer look to see if there's something that I want before it disappears. They also have a sense of urgency where they say 3 weeks of daily beauty steals. So again, they mention the time. They let you know that there is an expiration to the deals that they have going on. They have optimized their product pages. All of these have high quality images. You can see the name of the product, the price of the product. I think my eyes might be failing a little bit, but I think there's also a review that's just barely being cut off on each of the products. So again, that's that social proof that we spoke about. They're using the high quality images, as we mentioned, and something else that we will talk a little bit about in a future chapter, but they also have this little heart button, which is for wish lists. So they're utilizing wish lists to help their customer have a better experience and to improve their chances of having someone convert not only once, but in the future as well. So moving on to chapter 4, going to hand it back over to Jocelyn to talk a little bit about how we can leverage gift cards.
Now, one thing I wanted to say too, that the RE hashtag, I love that on their site. The other cool thing is that it also gives the company an insight into their customers. They can see their customers in action, and that helps them as well with targeting their demographics and seeing, how those products are being used, and can use what they're learning from a hashtag like that to transform their messaging. It's pretty smart. I like it. So Devin talked on gift cards a little bit in the previous chapter. So gift cards, in my mind, that's one of those secret marketing tools that's not typically talked about, because when you think gift cards, you don't necessarily think about marketing. So how do you apply gift cards to your marketing strategy? There was such a great example that he showed with, oh no, it's upcoming. The wish list is what you showed. The gift cards are upcoming. So I've got an example that I'll show you, but you're able to incorporate your gift cards into your marketing the same as any of your other products, where it's, shop our gifts now. But why would you want to add your gift cards to your site? Well, first thing is that it's going to give you increased sales. It makes it so that users, even if they're unsure of what they want to purchase on your website, they can still buy something. I'm shopping for my niece, who I haven't seen in 5 years, and it's going to be her 17th birthday. And I have no idea. Last time I bought her something, she was 12, and I bought her a unicorn notebook, and she's probably not into that anymore, right? But I know that she might really, really love going to Sephora or Old Navy or wherever it is. So I can buy that gift card for her. And what's great about that, and this is the bottom point, but that increases your cash flow because you're getting that money immediately. So it's a loss on them if the gift card is not redeemed, right? So you're still making sales even when the customers are unsure. For customer acquisition and retention, it can attract new customers who may not normally come to your site. So same example with my niece, maybe she's never been to my favorite store, but I think that she'll find something that she might like. I could get her a gift card to somewhere that I love, and I can share that with her, and it brings a new customer that otherwise may not have purchased there before, right? They'd never heard about it. So it increases that acquisition and retention. And people, when they have gift cards, they don't always use the full gift card amount. So it has retention. They'll keep coming back to keep spending on that website. Kind of talked on this a bit. It expands that customer base, right? They're great presence. they can bring you new customers for other people you may not have reached before. The customer flexibility, so it gives them the freedom to choose their preferred products. And what's great about that too is there's a lot of analytics that can go behind it, and you can see like what products are being purchased with gift cards versus any other forms, and you can see like what things people are buying with the gift cards and turn it into a messaging for your other base. Like give a gift of this product that people love so much, right? Like we know that it's popular or really popular right now. It just helps you understand what people are wanting when given the choice and money not being the issue. Cash flow optimization. Again, you get that immediate cash flow. And so for you, like there's no hurt for you to actually add gift cards to your shop. If anything, it's going to just have benefit after benefit after benefit. And it really just allows you to optimize that cash flow, knowing that you have that money coming in immediately. So some best practices for gift cards is you need a clear and prominent display. You want to make sure that your customers, they know that you sell gift cards. So adding it in your navigation menu or adding it on your homepage is a great way to do that. Providing a variety of designs and denominations. So, you know, if you have, again, a gift card that only is targeting a certain maybe gender, or I don't know how to say this, like they're all pink, maybe, or all blue, or all just one color, then people may be like, oh, I don't really like the way that that's designed, or maybe not this one, or it's a birthday gift card, but that doesn't say happy birthday. I want it to say happy birthday. Then you're able to get people to convert those gift cards more. And then allowing them to either choose their own denomination or providing a variety of denominations will also help with that flexibility in the customer processing purchase. And then make it really easy for them to purchase the gift cards. Don't make it difficult. Don't put it behind gates. Provide a very simple interface. Give clear instructions. You know, if it's an e-gift card, let them know here's where you need to enter the recipient's email, and here's how long it's going to take to get there. Give information on how they can redeem it, or they can tell the person they're gifting it to how to redeem it. Promote your gift cards. You need to put those in your marketing plan. Decide when you're going to promote those on your website. You can do it through email campaigns, social media to encourage customers to purchase them as gifts. You can also offer incentives. So oftentimes you'll see like buy $100 worth of gift cards, get $25 for free. That's a good way to incentivize people to buy the gift cards and have them promoted. And then make sure that they're secure and protected from fraud. So make sure you're providing unique codes on each gift card that are being there, and that they're not easily duplicated or transferred. But overall, it's a really valuable strategy for increasing your sales. And so I highly recommend adding gift cards to your shop if you don't have them already. In WooCommerce, it's as simple as adding a new product. There's a really great plugin by Yith. It's the Yith gift card plugin that allows you to easily set up gift cards on your shop. You can put your own custom images. Customers can choose from various images. You can have gift card categories, so you can have seasonal, birthday, standard, whatever it is. So here on this next slide is a great example of promoting your gift cards. So here on iFly, they give the gift of indoor skydiving. So it's a very clear and prominent display, clear and compelling message. They're promoting your gift cards, so explore gifting options. That also has a great CTA. Like that's what they're wanting you to do. That's what they're promoting. So clicking into that is what they're trying to get their customers to do, is to go explore those gifting options. And then they say, great, like what kind do you want? Do you want it digital? Do you want it physical? And then the users are able to choose between those. It's a simple purchase process, and it's very clear on what type of gift card you're getting. And, you know, Devin has it here. The site has an SSL certificate on here, which is important across every single website, especially on commerce websites, is to have an SSL certificate. But the Yith plugin also provides you the ability to generate those custom and unique codes, and it does it automatically for you. So you don't need to jump in to tackle that. Which brings us to our next chapter of wish lists.
Wish lists. Okay, so jumping into wish lists. Why do we want wish lists as part of our websites, and how does that help us boost conversions? So we talked a little bit about improving our customer experience. Wishlist definitely does that. It allows them to organize and categorize the items that they want to purchase from you and save that for a later date. Especially if they're on the fence between which items they want to get, they can even use their wish list to kind of add a couple different items to that. They're not sure which one they want to purchase. They want to compare, go back and forth a little bit. They can utilize your wish list for that. Also increases engagement and return visits. If someone adds something to their wish list, then there's a decent chance that they're going to come back in a future time and go check out what items they have added to your wish list. So you benefit from that increased engagement, that return and visit, and increases your conversions as well through that. You can also enhance the personalization. And I think this ties into remarketing and personalized promotions as well. But when someone comes to your store, if they have a wish list, oftentimes they'll be logged in. So you can greet them in that personalized manner that we talked about previously. You can also use that for remarketing and that personalized promotion. So you can send them an email. If you have their email address, you can say, hey, some of your items are on sale. Or you can also take a look at what things are being added to the wish list and say, okay, that's something that we need to have a sale on, or how can we incorporate a good upsell or cross sell, which we'll talk about in a minute, to that item to increase the average order value, which is absolutely critical for increasing your conversions. So also, wish list allows for social sharing and referrals. If you can share your wish list with someone else, makes Christmas shopping a whole lot easier. You can just add a couple things to your wish list and send that wish list to someone else and say, hey, just to save you the effort of buying me another knitted cat sweater that I don't actually need, here's some items that I added on the wish list. I'll be happy with any of them. And above and beyond just Christmas and gift giving, it allows you to share that wish list with other people, and that in turn gives you more brand exposure if your brand is not known by the person they sent it to, and drives traffic that way. Upselling and cross-selling opportunities. You as the site owner have the opportunity to see what people are putting on their wish list, so you can see either how to add. If a lot of people are adding that to their wish list, maybe you incorporate that into your upsell and cross-sale initiatives and increase the opportunity of people adding that to their wish list or just purchasing straight up. Also, inventory management and insights. You can use this to see, hey, if we've got a sale coming up, or if a lot of people are adding an item to their wish list, you can say we might want to increase the inventory that we're holding on hand for when people end up purchasing this. I've seen a lot of companies use a wish list to hype up a new product that's not released yet. They'll say, hey, this is coming next month. Join the wish list now or the newsletter now to be the first person that hears that this is available for sale. So wish lists can be used in a variety of different ways, but every way that you use them, it helps your user have a more enjoyable brand experience and increases the either the dollar amount or how often they return to your website, and therefore it helps boost your conversions. So a couple best practices as you're applying, again, this is a list of a couple different things that you can use, almost like a to-do list when you're looking at your own website for this. You need to make it easy to create a wish list. If you have it, you don't have any links that go to it, or if it's difficult to find a wish list. I gave that Ulta example earlier in the webinar where it was just a small heart, and that remains consistent no matter where you're navigating around the website. That's a small heart. Allow sharing, as I mentioned before, that allows your customers to become brand advocates and share a link to your website. That can be huge. You can also provide wish list reminders. You can incorporate a wish list into an email platform to send out an email that says your item is on sale. We'd love to, add this to your cart, or, even just something that you can reach out to them and let them know that their item is in stock again, if perhaps it's ran out of stock. You can also analyze the wish list data. We used that in the previous slide to talk about how we can prepare our inventory, but ahead of that, you can also see if it's a seasonal thing. Hey, maybe people start looking for winter coats months before. That's not how I personally shop. I wait till I'm freezing cold and then I go out and buy something. But maybe not everyone is as bad as I am, and maybe people start adding winter coats to their wish list. So maybe you want to start incorporating that onto your website earlier than normally you would think you would, because that's when people are putting it in their wish list. And also, another great practice is to encourage wish list usage. Make sure that people are using that. You can do that in your receipts. If someone purchases and adds something to their wish list, maybe on their receipt you have a link that says, "Don't forget the items that are in your wish list. Come back at a different time." Or make it very easy by the product. If it's out of stock, make a huge call to action that says, "Add this to your wish list." Make sure that people are able to easily utilize that function on your website. Here's an example from Amazon. They are really good at this aspect and a lot of aspect of selling things, obviously. But here I am looking at a PlayStation 5. I don't have the money yet, or the timing's not right, so I'm going to add this to my wish list. It's really easy. There's a drop down. There's a bunch of different wish lists that I have here, so I can categorize it and I can create a new list if I want. Once I add it to my wish list, I can see I've got my PlayStation 5. It's in my wish list. I can share it easily. I can customize it and move it to a different wish list. I can move it up and down. I can add it to cart. I can delete it. There's so many things that you can do here that can help your users have a better experience and have them continue to come back time and time again to your website. All right, next up, we're going back to Jocelyn with cross sells and upsells.
So I want to give a real life example of Wishlist, which is really fun. It happened last night. So yesterday, my youngest daughter had dance class. My other son had baseball practice. My other son had concert, right? We're just really busy. And my oldest says, "I need new clothes. I need new clothes. I need new shorts for the summer. It's getting hot." And he wanted to go to the store yesterday. And I knew that with all the activities, there wouldn't be enough time. So I said, okay, he loves shopping at Target and he loves, he loves Old Navy, those types of things. I'm like, okay, go to target.com, add things to your wish list and send me your wish list. And he did exactly that. And he sent me his wish list. And so now I can be like, okay, add. I can buy it, go pick it up in the store, or, have it shipped to the house. But otherwise, I'm like, I don't think that we would be able to make it to Target until next week, or, whatever it is. I'm like, throw them on your wish list. We do something similar as well on Amazon, where for Christmas or birthdays coming up, if we see something that like, oh, this person might like that, we have our own wish list for our kids. So that way, when those holidays come up, we can be like, okay, let's check out this wish list. Let's check out that one. So really, I think that they're really good, and they give you a competitive advantage. If not, that your competitors don't have when it gives you the leg up. So, yeah. All right, upsells and cross sells. So upselling and cross-selling are huge, really powerful tools for your site. The number one question that I think people typically ask is, what are upsells? What are cross-sells? What's the difference between the two? So upselling versus cross-selling. Upsells are designed to increase the value of a purchase. They encourage customers to buy a higher end version of a product. So you see here, there's a smaller diamond, and we're encouraging them to buy a bigger diamond that are more expensive. Or another way to think about it is buying a flip phone, and maybe you're encouraged to buy the latest and greatest iPhone, or instead of the iPhone 8, the latest, iPhone 14 Pro Max, whatever it is. So those are going to increase your average order value when you're utilizing upsells, because they're going to be spending more money. And they don't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be a huge upsell. Like, this is kind of dramatic, but it could be something as simple as, maybe you should sell Nikes and Nike Pros or SB Dunks or whatever they are, and they have one version of the Nike shoe in their cart, and you have a message that says, wait, the newest version of this shoe came out. And it might be even just a difference of $20 or $30. I don't know the difference in price of Nikes, but it doesn't have to be so dramatic that they're not going to convert. But also it can be dramatic. I mean, there's been often times where I have bought the more recent version of a product because of the way that it was marketed to me from a website. Your cross sells are going to increase the total number of items of a purchase. So they encourage customers to purchase additional related products. So you see, I'm buying a shirt, business shirt, you might want a tie and new shoes. And so you'll typically see cross-selling in the form of frequently bought together. That's right there. I'm sure you've seen it on Amazon. It's all over Amazon. Or, when they add to cart, when they're in the cart, we say, like, you might also like this. You're suggesting related items, or and it doesn't even have to be a related item. It could even be, here's our most popular products, and you can sell those, or display products from a different category that gives your store a little bit more exposure than it normally wouldn't have. So yeah, that's the biggest difference between your upsells and your cross sells. And really, when to use one over the other is up to you. And it's based on the goals that you have for your store. So some of the best practices with upselling and cross selling is, with upsells, you're not going to say, I'm trying to buy these Nike SB Dunks. I'm not going to try to sell you a basketball hoop instead, right? That doesn't make any sense. So you're going to want to make sure that they're relevant and complementary, that the suggestions are timely. So again, maybe once it's added to the cart and I'm viewing my cart, it's there on the page and I'm like, oh, I'm about to buy. And actually that does make sense. I do also want to purchase that. You can offer some value. So oftentimes people can do that by saying, if you purchase, frequently bought together products, then get all 3 for 20% off. Or offer a bundle with a product that adds more value to what they're purchasing. So maybe, if it's makeup, maybe if it's a new foundation, maybe you're saying, hey, also get this makeup applicator, get this sponge, right? These go well together, and that gives them value for that makeup. Keep it really simple. You don't want to give upsells and cross sells on every single page when every single interaction that happens. You'll overwhelm your customers if you provide too many options. And you'll also distract them. So I've had times where I've been on a site and there's so many pop-ups or so many ads or so many things that I'm like, close. I can't do it anymore. It's too much, right? And they lose me as a customer because of that. And then test and analyze, like see how effective it is. How is this strategy working? Are people adding your suggested products to the cart? Are they doing that upsell? Are they buying that more expensive version? If not, like, why not? Or is there a different product that you think might convert better, that maybe not like upselling to Nike, but maybe gets to a different brand? Maybe they'd be more inclined to purchase a different brand that's more expensive. Just analyze your data and go from there. And then don't be pushy. Again, going back to like too many pushy, or like, are you sure? Last chance. Are you sure? Are you sure? And your pop-ups coming on. Being too aggressive with upselling, it can do the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. Turns customers away and makes for a really, really negative experience. A couple other ways you can do those that I can think of at the top of my head is you can do like BOGO promotions, where you can buy one of this category, get another one over here for free. That's going to increase, the number of items that the customer's purchasing. You can also do things for upselling and cross-selling. It's interesting, the thought behind this, but doing things like, if you spend at least $50, then you'll get free shipping. That's a way to cross-sell, because you're getting customers to buy more, even though the benefit is the shipping. But that's a way to kind of add more products, and by providing those messaging. or buy 3 of this, get one of that free, offering a free gift in checkout. Now, there's a lot of other different sales strategies that go hand in hand with this. But the other thing too for merchants, I would say, is that if you analyze the products that you have, like, maybe you have too many of something and you're trying to clear out your inventory, you need to get it out. So maybe that's what your purchase, that's what your cross-sell or upsell is, at a discounted rate to help you clear that inventory, or it's out of season, or whatever it is. So the next slide we have is just a really good example of this cross-selling. So we added, these pants to the cart, and they're saying customers are also loving. And it's these pants that when other customers purchase, they're also buying these or viewing these. And this goes back to some of the things that we've said about really analyzing your data and your buyers, what they're doing, what they're purchasing together. You can look at historical orders to determine what you should sell with the cross sells. So I just really love this example. It's very, very obvious. And maybe it's like, oh, you know what? I didn't notice that they had these pants in gray. I'm actually going to go look at those instead, or I want those also. So this is just a really great example of that. All right, over to you.
We're getting to the end, and I know we're getting short on time, so I'll try to make this brief, but 2 things came to mind. I'm going to go back 1 slide. Do y'all notice that 3 out of the 4 things they suggest are on sale? So I thought that was kind of interesting that I suspect they're doing a little bit of testing, but also there's that sense of urgency of, hey, this is currently listed as on sale, so I better act quickly before they're not on sale anymore, before that sale ends. And I also noticed that, I think, Jocelyn, you called this out previously, but on this slide, it says, hey, add a few more dollars and then you get free shipping. So I think that's great. But final chapter here, leveraging WordPress for marketing. So we've talked about a lot of different ways to increase your conversions, to boost your conversions, how to streamline your website, make sure that it's ready for traffic, but leveraging WordPress for your conversions and for boosting your conversions. There's a handful of reasons why people like using WordPress when it comes to building an e-commerce store. And I'm going to say perhaps one of the biggest one is the plugin integration ability. So we have a list here of a few different plugins. Yith gift cards, we talked about that. Yith wishlists, that's over on the far right. Yoast SEO, that helps with your SEO. And all of these integrate very seamlessly with your WordPress installation. And so I think that's perhaps one of the biggest ways you can leverage WordPress when you're doing your marketing and when you're getting everything ready for your store, is to find the right plugins and think about the functionality that you want to increase when you're looking at your website. We also have WP Forms, Creative Mail, Jetpack. Each one of these has their own separate functionality that can really take your store to the next level. Jetpack can give you some social sharing functionality as well as some analytics. Yoast, as I mentioned before, is SEO, so that can help your website rank higher on the search engine results page. We just had a webinar last month that we spoke a lot about Yoast and how to increase your ranking. WP Forms, if you don't sell a product, maybe you would like to have a consultation, then you can have WP Forms that will send off a consultation. Say, hey, I want a quote. Here's my project. This is what I'm looking for. And then using Creative Mail, you can do a lot of the integration that we talked about with the gift cards and the wish list to send automated emails to your customers to make sure that they are getting the most out of their experience on your store. So that's just a few of the things that I think you can do to really get the most out of WordPress specifically. Also, WordPress is, as I'm sure most of you know, is geared towards content marketing. So it's very easy to write blog articles. Utilizing WooCommerce as an e-commerce plugin, it's very easy to add a web or an online store to your website. It's also, as I mentioned, Jetpack has some social sharing things, so you can share your blogs, you can share your products. You make it very easy for your customers to really kind of go out and be brand advocates for you and to tell your brand story to other people. So we're at time. We have a few questions. We'll go through some of this quickly. We've been trying to answer as many questions as we can in chat as we've been going through. But let's just try to get a couple questions up and running, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So Jocelyn, I'm going to ask some questions, and if you want to answer them, you can. If you want to throw them back at me, I'm happy to do that as well. Let me take a look here. Let's see. How can I leverage? Let's see. How can I leverage email marketing for my WooCommerce store?
Yep. Email marketing. So we touched on it a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're planning on having a more in-depth webinar about email marketing itself that can dive into a lot of email marketing strategies, but it can really be a powerful tool for driving sales and customer engagement. So the first thing is that you want to make sure that you start building an email list. You can offer incentives or exclusive content to visitors who have subscribed to your list. You can send personalized product recommendations based on their purchase history or what they've browsed on your site or links that they've visited. You can create targeted email campaigns. So if somebody adds something to the cart and they abandon flow, you can encourage them to complete their purchase. Like, hey, like, don't you forget about me. Come back and buy me. Send regular newsletters to keep them informed about new products, promotions, things that are going on with your business or industry updates. And then automation in your workflow, I think, is really important too. So welcome emails, post-purchase follow-ups to nurture customer relationships. WooCommerce and WordPress by default have a lot of the emails built in for purchase history, orders, receipts, your things on the way, but also just general follow-ups, I think, are important to re-engage customers who have previously purchased or visited your store.
Awesome. Thank you. Next question I found, and I'll take this one. How can I measure the success of my marketing efforts? So that's a good question. We talked a lot about different marketing efforts you can do, but we didn't talk a lot about how to measure that. So I would say there's some plugins that can help you with this. WooCommerce has some analytic functionality. Jetpack does as well. And there's something called KPI, Key Performance Indicators. And looking at those can help you know how successful your marketing efforts are. So looking at your conversion rate, your average order value, your cost of customer acquisition, all of those kind of roll into your return on investment, right? So I think it's important as you begin doing these to take a look at what the baseline is before you start doing some marketing efforts. Take a look at what your regular traffic is, your regular conversions are. And then once you incorporate these different marketing tactics, you can take a look to see if it goes up or down from the baseline that you've already established.
Yeah. And I would say with that,
yeah, go for it.
I was to say with that too, have a clear goal of what you're trying to accomplish with your marketing strategies. If your marketing strategy for this email campaign is for more conversions or this cross-sell for a higher average order value, really have those goals listed out so you know what you're trying to achieve, and then you can readjust based your other strategies around that if you're not quite hitting that target. I think that's really helpful too.
I like that. I'm going to throw another question at you. How can I improve the messaging on my website? We talked a lot about messaging, make sure it's clear and concise, but if you're not a copywriter, what can we do to improve that? That's a good question.
Yep, that is a great question. So I think going back to your target audience and having that user persona, understanding their needs and pain points and how they speak is number one, really, really important. Use very concise and headlines that are clear and immediately grab attention, and that it's providing what you're trying to sell. Like Devin mentioned earlier, you just have a couple of seconds to grab their attention. And when I make it to your website and I'm not clear on what it is that I'm supposed to do, or why I'm here, or what you're selling, or how you're going to improve my life by being on your website, I'm going to leave. So find ways to whittle down your messaging a little bit and not be so verbose. Articulating the value of the benefits of your products. Sometimes a bulleted list makes a lot of sense because that's a whole lot easier to read than a long run-on paragraph. And you can always have more details for those that want more details and want to read more. I think that really helps. And then breaking down complex information. So sometimes I like to say, how would I explain this to my 12-year-old? And I try to explain, if it's a really complex subject, I try to break it down to how I might explain that to my 12-year-old. And then it helps me remove all the additional technical fluff that doesn't necessarily need to be there. And again, that can be tucked away. And then I think sometimes visuals, infographics, helping to spread what your message is. Sometimes it's not all about words. Sometimes that the pictures can speak for you.
I like it. I'm going to go to the next slide, which has some assistance from Bluehost, and I'm going to leave this up while we do one, maybe two more questions. I know we're over time, so I want to be cognizant of that. Jocelyn, did you see any questions that you particularly liked in the chat?
Let's see. I'm just scrolling here now.
Here's one. How can I gain insights into my target audience's needs and preferences? We talked a lot about building that customer persona, but in order to do that, you need to gain the insights, right? You can't just guess and say, you know what, I think that the person, the random individual that bought from my site today was XYZ, right? So you need to find ways to gain that information. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jocelyn. I'll throw a couple answers out, and then if there's anything else that you want to include, feel free to jump in. But I think including those like surveys and questionnaires, you can throw those in. Perhaps when you ask for a testimonial or when you feel like your customer is having a really good brand experience, I think that's a good opportunity for store owners to ask them questions about themselves, about their personality, about their buying behavior. That gives you that direct feedback from your consumers and your customers.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing, if you really want true insights into their needs and preferences, the most important thing is that you are engaging with your customers and you make a very personal connection. Ask them, talk to them, set up a meeting, see if they'll do a call with you, see if they'll do a video conference with you. There's been times that we find our customers who live in the area here and we meet them at a coffee shop and we talk to them about how their website's going and how we can make it better for them. So I think that listening and making sure that you're asking the right questions, I think makes a lot of difference. And having your users explain it, like if they're unsatisfied, like don't hate on them for not liking your experience. Like try to get closer to that to see how you might take that frustration or reason why they didn't like your website or product and how you can make that better for them. Right? That's the biggest thing, is talk to them.
Yeah, that's going to be the most useful and probably the most actionable insight. But I think it's also important to take a broad picture, right? If you come across one person that hates your product and wasn't perfect, don't necessarily say, okay, I need to scrap my whole idea and start over. It could be that they just were the wrong person to buy that product, and that's okay. You're not going to sell everything to every person. So I think that's important. I think I thought of another one or two things. You can monitor your customers' social media, see where you're getting traffic from and look at your analytics. That oftentimes will give you some information about your buyers. So I think that's probably everything for today. I appreciate everyone that engaged and stuck with us as we got through all this. I apologize that we're running a few minutes late. This is a lot of information that we tried to get into this. I might not believe it, but Joss and I even cut some of this down to try to fit it into the time frame allotted, and we still went over, so we'll have to be a little bit better about that in the future. Thank you all for participating, for coming out. And I forgot to say this, but this is always the most asked question. A recording of this will be sent out. We will be sending you copies of the slides I mentioned previously, but we tried to intentionally position some of those slides as checklists that you can use when you're going on the website. So we will make sure we send that out. Thank you all for tuning in. Jocelyn, huge thank you for coming and joining us today. This was great, and we'll catch you all next time.
Thanks, Devin. Bye.
Bye, everyone.